Hello, my cat loving friends. I'm really excited about today. We have Dr. Julie Bradford here. She works in the practice with Goodvets.com, and there's so many things we want to ask her. We talk about how important vets are. There's a vet shortage. Sometimes we get frustrated with our vets. We want to talk about good vets and what they offer, and we want to dig a little into the information that every pet parent needs to know. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back after this word from our very amazing sponsor. Welcome back to 19 Cats and Counting. I'm your co-host, Linda Hall. And before me is my beautiful blonde BFF, Rita Reimers.
I always say she's buttering me up for something. I'll find out later what she wants.
I'm just putting the compliments in a bank for when I need to cash in.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I don't want to talk to you.
I figured, yeah.
I want to talk to Dr.
We got two blondes and a brunette, so let's bring our other blonde.
You're outnumbered, Linda.
Hello.
Welcome,
Hi,
Julie.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. So Goodvets works a little differently. Let's first start with Goodvets. They work a little differently than my average vet in town. Can you explain to me how that works and why that business model?
Yeah, so the traditional model for veterinarians was, you would work for an older vet for a few years, and then when they were ready to retire, you would buy their practice. And so we had smaller practices with 1 to 2 vets, started getting a little bit bigger, but still owned by a local veterinarian. And in the past, 10 years, that has somewhat shifted, and you'll see all of these corporations coming in and buying up these practices and being run by some, suits,
some head somewhere that is not in touch with what's going on in our lives, right?
Yeah. And so this consolidation that you see is pretty common, but it's still, they're run by, people in a different town, not the local veterinarian. So Goodvets has a different model where it's a corporation, but it's also run at a local level by their veterinary partners. So people like me joined Goodvets, and we actually buy in. So we have an ownership stake, and then we become the medical directors for that city.
That's
so
amazing.
It's a nice model where we get the support of a corporate group because we can offer better benefits for our employees. They do our payroll and all of that. They help recruit, they do the marketing. I don't have to do that. I can focus on the medicine and my team.
And then you can see more patients. Because you're not in your office doing payroll.
Yeah,
we know both worlds.
We know firsthand it's really hard to work on the business and in the business at the same time.
Yeah, it is.
So that puts you where you want it, right? You didn't go into accounting when you graduated high school. You went into veterinary medicine.
That's right.
And with every job, I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork and junk that's like, this has nothing to do with why I'm doing this, but you found a way to relieve some of that. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So there was something I read, a couple things on the goodvets.com website. Everybody, goodvets.com. So one, it said healthy pets start with empowered veterinarians.
I love that.
How do you feel more empowered by this? How does that work? How does that help our cats?
Yeah, the local control and the local ownership, I think, is really important. And we really try to focus on mental health. So, making sure that our people are happy.
Yes.
And not overworked. And, there's always going to be hard days, but we still want to make sure that everybody understands that they are appreciated on our team, and, just helping so much with mental health. And because that is a problem in our profession.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
I know veterinarians that work such long hours. There's a shortage of them. I know that my local veterinarian, he's like the only game in town. And they went from being a 5-vet practice to a 4-vet practice. They can't attract another one to join. So they're all overworked.
Why is the shortage? If you know, or what would be your guesstimation of why we're not churning vets out of school right now?
Well, it's really, really hard to train a vet. It takes, you do your 4 years of undergrad, and then at least 4 years after that in vet school. It's very, very difficult to get into vet school. So a lot of people actually have to do multiple years. They get masters in between. We just don't have very many spots. And that's partly because we didn't used to need as many veterinarians. I remember when I graduated 15 years ago, we were actually talking about a crisis of too many vets.
Oh, no.
The way it
But
happens.
yeah, but now we are seeing people are demanding better and better care for their pets. They're willing to do more and more for them. They're wanting their pets to be treated the same way that we treat humans. And that didn't always used to be the case, but now people are realizing that their pet is part of their family. They want the best care possible. And so people are bringing their pets to the vet more often. And I think that's part of what's contributing to it. And then we just can't suddenly increase class sizes in our vet schools because there's so much training that goes into it. You can't just suddenly say, okay, we're going to have double the class size. So we're trying to catch up, but they're not turning out enough vets. And
well, and I suspect that COVID pushed the envelope for anybody who was considering retirement. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe another year. Now's good. I'm out.
I think that's true for sure.
We did see a lot of people leave the profession during COVID and in the aftermath, not just in the veterinarians, but also the support staff. It's and then, compensation is not, it has gotten a lot better since when I graduated 15 years ago for support staff and for veterinarians, but it still needs to get better, especially for support staff. We have to be able to pay them more.
Oh, yeah, it's true. About 20 years ago, I was considering becoming a vet tech, and my veterinarian said, don't. You'll be way in debt. You'll never get out.
It's like being a nurse's aide. You get all of the worst of the stuff that's going to kill you eventually, and you get paid like a babysitter, right? Like not paid what you're worth.
Yeah.
And I think that's a valid point, because somebody recently pointed out to us that they are starting finally to raise the compensation for our veterinarians, which is raising the cost to us. Obviously, it has to come from somewhere, and people are really complaining about the cost. And I will be the first one to complain, not to you, just to myself, when the bill comes and like have the internal horror scream. But at least I understand the reasoning behind it, and we need our vets. So I'm willing to pay a little more if I have to keep my vets in place.
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, we are offering the same quality of care that we give to humans on the human side. And so we're using the same equipment and the same medications, and we're charging so much less than what like your insurance company pays for human medications. So, and
100%.
Just the amount of knowledge, not just that veterinarians have, but our technicians, our nurses, they do as much as a human nurse. They know they know so much.
Yeah, we were just talking about that the other day.
We were just talking about that the other day. I think it was in chat because it was Vet Technician Week. And we were like, yes, these are nurses. They should be called nurses. You are a doctor. You're a doctor of veterinary medicine. They are nurses of veterinary medicine, right? It's
oftentimes they're the ones first looking at the cat or dog or animal, taking the vitals. A lot of time they're the liaison between you and the doctor, because he has to see so many more patients now with the shortage. They're leaning heavier on the vet techs.
Yeah. Your veterinarian is not out there giving inoculations, right? The vet techs are doing that. And I don't want to fight the cat to stab them, but I had to laugh about what you said about pay, because years ago, I had a complete hysterectomy, and it was very soon after that I had to spay a cat.
Yeah.
And when I got the bill, I was like, I should have come here. Exactly. They removed my ovaries, my uterus, my cervix. They took it all. You took it all on the cat.
I think it might have cost a lot more just for anesthesia for you, Linda. You're a little bigger than an 8-pound cat.
I would have paid that difference, because believe me, I still would have ended up singing a much prettier song. I told them, like, I should have come here for my hysterectomy. Just take it all.
You know what I'm noticing though is that I'm having harder time getting my pets in just for routine stuff, like even spay neuter. The last couple I've had to spay neuter, I've had to wait weeks to get in, where it used to be I would call my vet and he'd say, oh yeah, come in Thursday.
Yeah. And that's just the shortage of veterinarians. People, especially with COVID, when people were working from home more, they would adopt all these pets, which was great. The shelters were cleared out, but then they would sit at home with their pets, and then as soon as one sneezed, they would bring him in.
Yeah, about that.
So
I didn't
it's
think
true
about that. I had not.
Well, remember, we started getting calls because people were like, my cat sleeps all the time. Is this normal? We're like, yeah, that's normal. You just weren't home to see it.
Yeah, it always happened. And then when they went back to work, they called us and said, my cat's got separation anxiety and is losing their marbles. So I wanted to ask about a couple of the things that I want to go back to what you were saying and talk about compassion fatigue later. But you have urgent care, which I love. And what I love even more is you do virtual care.
Yes, that's become a big deal in the veterinary world. And I think also because of the shortage. Is that true?
Yeah, and it sort of depends on what you are hoping for with the virtual care, because with humans, it's a lot easier. You can see your doctor and tell them your problems. Your cats can't do that. So there are limitations to virtual care and what we are able to do, because the cat can't tell us where it hurts. So understanding that not every appointment is going to be able to be seen virtually.
Oh, so you won't do Kismet's dental virtually then? Is that what you're telling me? Because he's getting close, and I was thinking, oh, I could do this.
Smart Alec.
I
Forgive Linda, she's in a weird mood today.
If your boy cat has urinary problems and I need to make sure it's not blocked, I can't do that virtually.
Sure. Right.
And I prefer, so in my clinics, we don't see pets virtually if it's their first visit, because we do want to have had our hands on them at some point.
Right.
That makes
sense.
But
I recently had somebody see me virtually because they themselves had COVID, and so they didn't want to go out in public, and it was something that I could do virtually. So that was really great for them to have that option.
There are certain flea meds that you need a prescription for. There's just
I was just gonna say
that I last August we could not find one of our cats. She didn't show up for
you make
dinner.
It sound like it was last year, August.
And,
it was just
no, it was just a few months ago. We found her, of course, hiding in the last place you ever look. And she was dying, and it was the middle of the night, and I don't have access. I would have look, I knew she was dying, and I knew there was no coming back, and I knew there was nothing anybody could do about it, but I needed to talk to a professional who would say, okay, here's where we're at, here are your choices. Yeah, it was just so rough. I think if I just would have been able to make that call. And Karma was feral. We referred to her as semi-feral by the time we did our work, but that was only in this house. She didn't get regular vet care. Good luck with that. There is no human way we could have taken that cat.
I have one like that too. My home vet said she has to be okay because I can't touch her. Yeah.
You better die at home, girlfriend, because there's no way. Now, when she did get to a point where I was able to put her in the carrier just because she was so bad. But yeah, that would have been a moment when I really would have liked to talk to a professional, even if you really couldn't give me an answer. Sometimes it just helps to talk us through our feelings, right?
Yeah,
I had Rita on the phone all night long that night. But
well, I've done likewise to you. Right?
Oh yeah, we're each other's support system.
Well, let's take a little break for our sponsor. When we come back, let's talk about a more cheerful subject, shall we? We'll be right back. And we're back with 19 Cats and Counting, my BFF Linda Hall, and the possum Dr. Julie at Goodvets.com. And we're going to change the subject to something a little more positive right now, wouldn't you say, Linda?
So I'm going to ask you a question. What is the one thing, the human leaves and you're like, oh my gosh, I just a million times this happened. What is the one thing you really wish you could say to people that they knew ahead of time, or you wish they would do? I'm totally putting you on the spot here.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many.
So many. Yeah, I imagine.
We are trying more and more with especially the kitten appointments when they come in, to talk to them about how to positively transport their cat to the clinic so that when the cats are older, they don't hate us so much.
Very
That's a big one for
good.
us too,
So what do
getting
you
them to
tell
like
them
the
to do?
carrier.
Yeah. What is your advice to them then?
So I like to have people, well, first of all, the carrier matters. So getting a good quality carrier that will easily open, like where the top comes off, is ideal.
Yes.
Because a lot of cats love to hide if they're nervous. And so they feel so much more safe if they can just hide in the bottom of the carrier. So if they want to do that, we can just
Way
take
at the back. So you have to shove your hand in there and try to
You ever try to
hide.
turn one over and dump them out?
Yeah.
No, they
No.
claw right into that plastic somehow.
Yeah, or into your skin.
Yeah, that too.
Because we've seen a lot of carriers that are very old and they have those screws that are rusted on there and you cannot take them apart, and then you try to dump the cat out, and that's not fun for the cat. It's not fun for our staff, and it just makes them hate us even more. So next time they're going to be even more scared of us. So if we can take that carrier apart, they can stay in the bottom of it and we can do our exam in there. They have the familiar smells of home, and they think that they're hiding. So the carrier matters. First of all, you want it to be not giant where they're going to be rolling around in it, but big enough for them to be able to kind of move.
Right.
Keep it out in your house as part of the furniture so that they think this is just another item that's in my environment that's totally benign. Because what happens is when it's time for the vet once a year, you might bust out that carrier, the cat knows what's happening and runs.
And it smells funny too, because it's been probably in the attic.
But in the garage, yeah.
Before taking the course, we used to keep our carriers in the basement. So I bring up this weird thing that smells like the basement, and I'm like, get in, right? Like, up yours. I'm not doing it. So
yeah. And then there's also some pheromones that you can use if your cat is really scared. So one of the brands is called Feel Away, and that's just a nice comforting pheromone to them, and it comes as a plug-in. So if your cat could stand to use a pheromone regularly, the plugins are nice because that's all the time. But if it's just more for bringing the cat in, it comes as a spray, so you can just spray the carrier like half an hour before you try to put them in it. Carry it like it's a very prized possession. Don't just swing it by the handle. Carry it underneath very gingerly so they're not bouncing all over the place. When you put it in the car, they say the best place is in the back seat down on the floor, so that they're not on the seat where they can like bounce around.
So they don't, and so they don't see all the traffic whipping by.
Yeah, and then you can play soothing music in the car too.
Yes, I always take the seat belt and I run the clip through the handle on the top, and then I put the lap belt around it. I mean, it's not the most secure thing in the world, but that thing definitely isn't going to fly through my front windshield when I slam on the brakes.
That's right.
So that would be my goal in life.
And then when they're here, we like to give them treats, at least offer them. And we have pheromone diffusers in all of our exam rooms, and we spray ourselves with the pheromone spray. And then, examine them where they want to be, if that's on the floor, if that's on a table, if it's on your lap.
Yes.
But I think knowing the proper, like having a proper carrier, keeping it out, like those are things that I wish that all cat owners
I love it.
Yeah, I always try to suggest to people that get one that opens from the top, because it's made life so much easier. And like you said, leaving one out so that the cats can play in it and think of it as a safe space. It's not a battle to get them into it anymore.
Yeah. If your only memory of that object is going to the vet and having a speculum shoved up your hiney for a stool sample, you're not going to want to get in it, I'm thinking. But if you remember playing in it, sleeping in it, cuddling up on your fuzzy blanket in it, okay, we'll take our chances. Maybe it's not so bad. So now that I've lifted the mood, I want to bring it back down. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Compassion fatigue is a huge thing with animal workers. Rita and I get the least of it because majority of what we do is behavior, but we still hear some things sometimes.
Well, I went through it myself because
Yes.
I used to volunteer with a rescue every weekend, the Petco adoptions, when I lived in LA. And after a while, it hurts your heart You know, I
Yeah.
see some of it was a huge cat rescue, like 800 cats. So sometimes I would not see the same cats, in a row. It was all who she
Yeah.
could catch to bring to the adoption events. And yeah, it was getting pretty exhausting and heartbreaking.
Yeah, I have so much respect for anybody that works in a shelter rescue sort of situation, because I don't think I could do it. It seems really like
I couldn't do it where they euthanize.
Which,
That I
like,
could
that's what
not
I
do.
was just gonna say. My stepdaughter, Lizzie, loved our cats, all animals really. And at one point, she wanted to be a veterinarian. And the girl's brilliant; she could do anything she wanted. And then she got to like, I don't think I could euthanize. Look, I know it's in their best interest. I know it's the right thing to do. I still don't think I can be the one yielding the needle, right? Like
yeah.
that takes a lot. And yet, thank you for doing it, because when we're all stuck in this situation and our cat is suffering, we definitely want you to do the deed.
It's
We're not doing
necessary,
it.
yes, for sure.
It
In the
is
vet's
for,
office.
You
for
know,
the best of them.
I
Yeah, I'm
don't,
grateful to my vet for being able
yeah,
to
and
handle it.
euthanasia is clearly very difficult, but I don't know that that's probably not what causes all of this compassion fatigue and burnout, because that is truly a gift that we can offer our
Yes,
patients,
it is.
an end to their suffering. That
Oh.
it's terrible and it's very hard, but it is a gift that we can offer.
But
So
people
but
too, though, what they're going through, right? Like, I feel sorry for every vet who's been in the room when I've lost an animal, because I become a weeping idiot. And I'm
Oh.
like, I'm sorry.
we are too. Sometimes
Well,
we
more than
are better
once, my
able at
vet.
keeping it
So,
in than
yeah, more than once, my vets have cried with me, so I
Oh,
know it's
yeah.
hard on them too.
Yeah.
What do you
We know
think
that builds up.
the contributor is to the compassion fatigue? Is it the abuse they see, or just the hours, or all of it?
All of it. So we see difficult cases that we can't save no matter how hard we try. We see cases where we did a lot and we did our best, and then the owners, are not very appreciative, especially with comments online. Sometimes that can be really devastating. But we all try our hardest. We all do our best. So for some people to, and it's a small minority of owners that are like this, but for every single one you get, it just kills you.
I know I've witnessed it in my vet's office, and
Yeah.
there's no reason for it. I'm always extra nice to all the staff and my veterinarians. I
We
really
appreciate
them.
that.
I send them chocolate at the holidays,
Thank
just,
you. Yes. We love that.
Yes, we love you, and we don't want you to. It's the hard stuff. Like I said, Rita and I have the least of it, but
yes.
we hear the story. We'll ask, because that's important in behavior. Do you know anything about this cat's background? And then we're like, I'm sorry I asked. Please never tell me anything like that again. Abuse, hoarding situations. We had a couple cats, and we had 2 cats in the same month that were rescued from hurricanes,
Right,
and
that's right.
separated from their family and moved to another
Oh.
state. And there's a lot of stuff.
Owners that
and
have
it's
died, and the animals get kicked out or put into shelters. Yeah, that's the stuff that gets me.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you see it. You see it too, Dr.
Yeah.
Julie.
Yeah.
It's also really hard when people just genuinely can't afford treatment.
Mhm.
And it's really hard. We, as veterinarians, are notorious for giving away our services, and we want to do everything we can to help these pets. It's just reality. Like we have to charge, because we have to pay our staff. We have to keep the lights on in our building. It's
yes, exactly. But
My vet's generous when he can be, because he knows I have 17 and what I do for a living. So sometimes I don't end up paying for some pills or some drugs or something. But yeah, I understand they've got to make a living, because I want them to still be there.
yeah.
well, and they're your limitations too. So we are good friends with Peter Cohen, who's in the FIP Warriors. He's got Zen by Cat. And so we've recently been educated to the fact that there is a cure for FIP, but you can't prescribe it, can you, doctor?
Are you guys even allowed to steer people towards FIP Warriors or anything?
I'm not sure about the legalities of that.
Okay. We were going to ask, because we were talking about that. That's what our chat was about last night. And we're like, of all the frustrating things, like, can you imagine as a human being going to your doctor and the doctor says, I got your results back. We're going to have to turn you over to hospice or terminal. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's nothing that can help me. Oh no, there is. I just can't give it to you. So go. And so we said, I wonder if they can even say, you could contact
Probably
me,
not
legally.
legally.
Yeah, I would think, because it's not legal to administer this drug. But yeah, that has got to be one of the most frustrating things in the world as a doctor, to know that you could cure a patient, but you're legally not allowed to, right?
She probably can't say anything, Linda, at this point. So on that happy note, are
Take her silence.
there any last things you'd like to say to our listeners, Dr. Julie, especially when it comes to getting your pets in for that necessary checkup?
Just don't delay. As difficult as it might be to bring a cat to the vet, delaying it only makes it worse. So at least call the office and just talk about what's going on and see what they say.
Right.
Wonderful. Yes. And I would
Linda.
encourage everybody to go to goodvets.com. Y'all are all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have
and
one in
growing.
Charlotte, which isn't far from me.
Yes.
Couple
And we
hours.
know that these vets are vested, right? This is
Yes.
your business. So you're taking an ownership over that, which only benefits us and our pets.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think it makes a difference in how the veterinarians get to operate if they don't have to be mired down in all the paperwork.
And micromanaged, and yes, all of the above.
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming. We so appreciate it, Dr. Julie.
Thank you.
Go and check out goodvets.com. Look for one near you. And thank you, Linda, as always, for being my BFF, my ride or die, my partner in crime. Did
You're
I say
stuck with me.
crime?
You weren't supposed to talk about that. I told you.
I know. And then, of course, Mark Winter for giving us the spot on Pet Life Radio. We are eternally grateful. And don't forget, every day is Catter Day. We'll see you next time.
Bye.